Hey all you cool cats and kittens, Adrian Lamb here. Now, I'm sure you're familiar with machines taking on household automation like cleaning or cooking. But how does one recognize Peach? Well, with that simple example from the title, you can already imagine the difficulties a computer will have when trying to process something so complex as speech. I think a lot of people take for granted how powerful the brain is at taking into account these small nuances in inference. But before all of this complexity, the sound must first be converted into a machine-compatible form. Human speech typically falls in the range of 4 kHz minimum for it to be still understandable. Yet 8 kHz is used for radio or telephony. This is explained by Nyquist's sampling theorem, which states if the maximum bandwidth of a signal is b hertz, then the signal can be perfectly reconstructed without error, provided the sampling rate is higher than 2 times that. And at a sampling rate of a frequency of 8 kHz, experiments show that there is little to no difference in quality once at this level. Another technique used in signal processing is companding, or compansion, which is the act of using compression and expansion. Speech is terribly inefficient in using the bits that are available to its disposal. And for this reason, companding makes the softer regions of the sound louder and reduce noise when the sound is reproduced. This gives the more evenly spread distribution of bits in the diagram, as shown by the red lines. Finally, quantization converts the final sampled signal into a series of bits to be processed by the computer. Now, a fundamental concept for signal processing is Fourier representation, which allows band-limited continuous signals, such as analog sound, to be expressed as a wave, or more importantly, or more commonly, a mixture of waves. Although the waveforms you see here on the diagram are not exactly the same shape as one another, the main point is that the frequency must be accurate. Human ears aren't actually sensitive to phase, and therefore even if the shapes aren't the same, the signals sound identical. You could say that those small differences leave your ears unfazed. Okay, Bernard. Finally, the MFCC. Of course. That really explains it. Okay, anyways, next slide. Oh, wait. You don't know what the MFCC is? Really? Wow, okay. Would have thought that was common knowledge, but not to worry, I'll run it through for you. MFCC, also known as male frequency septual coefficients, is a method for classifying patterns in a signal called features. And what this does is it then lets the computer translate these now digital signals into actual language. First, the signals are companded and split into chunks called frames. Then, a Fourier transform converts the frames to sine and cosine waves that are summed into a spectrum after having passed through the Mel scale. The scale changes it to mimic the nonlinear scale that the ear follows. At the moment, the processing done on the original signal is now a little harder to manage because of its scale, and so log comes into play, letting the calculations be through addition instead of multiplication. To finish with, a second Fourier transform is done to get the cepstrum to be a more compact form to work with. Now, with all the preparation set in place, we've made it to the hidden Markov model. In its most basic form, the model consists of a number of states which it runs through at random, but in a sequence. and each one represents the possibility for the signal to be a phonem. FYI, phonemes are the smallest unit of sound that distinguishes one word from another, and in English there's 44. The key difference between the mediocre Markov model and the cooler hidden version is that the states, when passed through, gives an output, be it numerical or otherwise. This is especially useful in speech recognition, since we want to be transcribing words and not just sounds. Running through each state informs the computer of the possibilities of words that the sounds can be. And these states essentially act as classifiers to determine how likely they are to be phonem 1 or 2, for example. Clearly, just computing an output of da obviously won't do. And so mainstream companies, like Microsoft, invest a lot into training their speech recognition AI via deep learning algorithms to allow for the probabilities presented in the Markov model to be more all-encompassing of all the words possible. Well, this isn't just a theory. This is being put into practice. And we'll just have to wait and see what the future holds for speech recognition. Thanks for watching.